Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trey Strelko, joined by Adam Eaton. Welcome in to Sons of UCF Live. Adam, less than 24 hours until kickoff between New Hampshire and UCF. It is finally here.
Trace, it's so funny, man. Like, we wait so long for this, and all of a sudden we're on happy, first game eve at this point. All the buildup, all the conversation, all the talking season, all the videos, all the projections, and it's all going to finally get sorted out starting tomorrow. Best time of the year. It's so awesome to be a part of it, and I can't wait to talk some football tonight with our guests. I know we got Coach Loudensbury coming up. I know we got some folks covering New Hampshire. Obviously, we got questions from the audience, so I'm just glad to be back in this regular rhythm.
At this point, what do you feel? Any butterflies? Do you have any nerves? Just genuine excitement, ready to get things going?
Yeah, I think if it was a different opponent, I may have some nerves, Trace. I think at this point, it's just excitement. Like, I just want to get this thing kicked off. I want to get answers to my questions. I want to kind of see the team, the things that we're musing about, if it's running back rotations, defensive line depth, how are the linebackers. I just finally want some evidence of what it is that we've been talking about for the last 7 months. I actually just want to see it. So less butterflies. If this was maybe a higher ranked opponent, I'd feel differently. But this game, I just want to see us play. I want to be able to see and assess and stop hearing from people and assuming and assumptions and Twitter posts. I just want to see from my own eyes.
Thursday, bounce house weather expected to be good, and announced sellout for this one. I'll tell you what feels a little bit different. And I saw it with basketball, right? How the team turns over season. And I feel like that's a lot of what we're going to be seeing now with football. These are our guys this year. Who knows who are going to be the guys next year? Kind of win now every year.
Yeah, 43 new names on this roster, Trace, if I heard Gus correctly. And yeah, I mean, at this point, obviously, some of these guys we don't know, but that's the fun part about this is like who's on this roster right now that you and I don't even really know. We've heard his name maybe. And at the end of the year, we're going to go, man, that player was fantastic. That person really stepped up. And that's kind of the fun part with some of the new guys is, you never know who at the end of the year and 2 years from now, we're doing this show. We're going to be talking about a guy. I think back, Trace, when Jason Johnson joined UCF, we were like, who? From where? Didn't know who he was. And 2 years later, he was a really productive player. And now he's a name we'll remember. So who's on this roster now that you and I don't know a lot about, that we haven't had a lot of interaction with? And at the end of this season, we're going to go, man, that was a great pickup for UCF. I think that's kind of the fun part is getting to know some of these guys and figure out who will be, a UCF trivia question that UCF Mike is answering on Up All Night, in 3 years, because of their play on the field this season.
Well, we saw in that documentary, just wonderfully done by UCF on RJ Harvey, right? He was that guy, a young guy on the roster wanting playing time. We were talking about other guys at that time, and look how he's emerged in this final season for UCF. And there are guys, as you say, that are going to emerge maybe in game one, maybe over the course of this season, that are going to be the stars of tomorrow. The depth chart dropped Monday. What jumped out at you?
Obviously, the most, I guess, depressing news was the John Walker injury, right? We had heard from Coach Malzahn, a little vague, right? Lower extremity injury, significant amount of time missed. Obviously, you wonder what the depth looks like there. It's probably really the names that weren't on that list, Trace. I think there's some guys that you and I were thinking about. You didn't see Jakari Henderson, although, we assume he'll be okay. You didn't hear about kickoff specialists. So was Colton Boomer handling both duties? Is that just not a listed position? Colton Boomer obviously looks like won the place kicking job. And so, holds off Grant Reddick and will be place kicking this year. What the running back rotation looks like, I think will be interesting. Probably the biggest surprise, Trace, was Tyreek Robinson. A true freshman.
Did we hear his name one time during any media session with Coach Malzahn and other coaches and players?
I didn't know how to pronounce his name. I didn't know how to pronounce his name, and I learned that quickly. And so guys like that making the two deep and, getting a chance to get on the field. So those are some of the little surprises. I think the special team stuff, again, Boomer winning the job, I think kind of went unnoticed. Who's the kickoff specialist? I think Jakuri Brown is QB2. We kind of saw that trending that way too. So not a ton of surprises. Obviously, a lot of transfers on that list. Probably the biggest thing that stuck out to me, Trace, is the veteran presence. A lot of upperclassmen in that 22, if you will, right? The starters and even that second layer. A lot of upperclassmen, a veteran team. Gus this year in the portal says he prioritized, really playing time and guys who have some veteran presence versus, guys who have potential. And so we'll see if that pays off, but, not a ton of surprises, I guess, from a 2D perspective.
Yeah, and of course, it's going into the first game. You've got Sam Houston next week. I don't want to dismiss these opponents, but these are games, especially with UCF favored by 42.5 in some places over New Hampshire. I want to dismiss these opponents, but you have a couple of weeks to figure this out. Maybe there are some changes. There were some oars in some spots, especially at running back. We've talked about how are they going to utilize running backs. I thought it was interesting from Coach Malzahn this week, asked what kind of team do you think you have? And he's chomping at the bit too to see what he's got.
Yeah, look, I think it's interesting, right? You hear from these guys every week, and the coach has talked a lot about there's a process. Well, process comes to an end now, in less than 23 hours from now, right? That process comes to an end. So I thought this clip was interesting, Trace. I'll play it now for everybody, but just kind of his thoughts on what he wants to see in game one. But I think this really holds true throughout the entire season. If you think about a recipe for success, I think it's doing a lot of things that coach talks about here.
I want us to play good team football. I want us to be sound on offense without all the penalty crap and all that like we talked about. I want us to be sound on defense. And, I want to hear some hits where the crowd goes, whoa, type deal. I want to play good, disciplined football. That's really it. It's just getting back to the basics. That's really been what we talked about the whole fall camp. And not have those self-inflicted wounds. That's the challenge in the first game. You look at those first games, there's a lot of penalties. We can't be that team. And, hopefully that won't happen.
And I, for one, Adam, am going to be counting woos during this game. I think with my notepad next to me, I'm going to be like, how did we react? Was that a woo moment?
I don't know if I hear a lot of woos. Like, I feel like that's a yeah and a way to go, and maybe a boom would have been appropriate for Coach Malzahn. I don't know the last time I said woo.
I think he wants reactions, though. He wants us to be awed by a tremendous hit on defense or a spectacular play on offense. I think that's what he wants, those big moments, and maybe
happy to do so.
Weren't enough of those big moments, right?
Happy to do so. If they produce those, I'm happy to woo my way all the way to a victory. But if they're, I'm happy to do so if they're able to oblige on their part.
All right. You and Mike have talked predictions. We talked about predictions on Around the Kingdom. I want to credit our friend Miles at _all_night_ on Twitter. He posted the poll before I could, asking what's your prediction record. 48% of respondents said 9-3 or better. 42% 8-4. So that's 90% of those responding. Obviously not scientific, but it does feel like the pulse of Night Nation. That there is a lot of enthusiasm with, as you mentioned, a veteran-laden team, that this could be a year with 8, 9, or more wins.
I mean, look, you got to love the hopium. And I think the reality is we have the talent, especially on the offense, to be successful. Now, we were talking to Coach Lounsbury before we came on the air. You got to have some things fall in place, right? You got to have a little bit of luck here and there, right? Mm-hmm. So I think you have the talent in place. According to what we're hearing from coaches, and again, this is why I want to see a game. We have the depth, we have the new pieces on defense that can really be successful. So you're hearing that we have the recipe to be able to do something that's really, really special this season, an 8, 9, 10 win season. So I'm not surprised. And I personally, I think if things break the way that we think they were, 8, 9, 10 is not improbable. But again, it's a long season. It's a grind. There's injuries. There's inconsistencies. By the way, the other teams, they're on scholarship too, right? So they're playing as hard as they can to win football games. So it'll be interesting to figure out how this is. But I think the hopium's there. You can see the blueprint for how you get to an 8, 9 win season. Can that hold true? Can we live up to that? Will other factors get in the way? That's why we need to kick this thing off on Thursday night so we can get all that figured out.
Well, on the eve of this 2024 season kicking off, let us bring in Coach Lounsbury to talk a little ball. Coach, it's your finally.
Good to see you all.
Good to see you. How glad are you to start the season?
Very glad. Like you said, it's the hope is there, and I think for good reason. But you have to have some good fortune. You have to stay healthy. You have to have the ball bounce your way a few times to help you win the close games, and you can just about count on most of the games in the Big 12 being close games for everybody. I mean, the teams are very evenly matched, it appears anyway. So I'm just anxious to get it started too, like you guys, and see what we've got.
When you look at a depth chart that comes out in advance of the first game, do you think of that as maybe being written in pencil, that it could be some subject to change before conference play begins in a couple of weeks at TCU?
Oh, it's always about competition, and any good coach will tell you, you really haven't locked anybody into a starting spot. It's all going to be based on performance each week. So it'll be interesting to see who performs well, and we're going to see a lot of receivers. We're going to see 6 guys catching the ball. You're going to see a lot of secondary guys. You're going to see 5 linebackers. You'll probably see at least 8 defensive linemen or 9. So you're going to get a big rotation probably everywhere but quarterback and the offensive line. Those are probably the 2 that are going to stay pretty constant, hoping we don't have any injuries in either one of those.
Well, if you, me, and Adam in the audience, you've seen the most of this team across spring and fall. Let's start by talking quarterback. No surprise, KJ Jefferson, right? The Arkansas transfer as the starter. But I think some folks are a little surprised that Ja'Curry Brown, on paper at least, in this depth chart, has nosed out Dylan Risk. What did you see from Ja'Curry that encourages you about his play should he be needed at some point during this season?
Well, Ja'Curry has a great cannon for an arm, and he's fast as lightning. And he's 6'5". So, or 6'4" at least. So all of those things I think are pluses. And he's hungry, and he wants to play. He's shown flashes at Miami. When he did play at Miami, he showed flashes of being a great player. So I think there's a lot of upside to Ja'Curry. I also think there's a lot of upside to KJ. Both of those guys have performed very well, especially in the last 2 weeks. Throwing the ball and being leaders and being able to run the ball with the quarterback is a big plus too. And so I'm excited about both of them. But Ja'Curry, he's got it. I think he's got what it takes, and I've seen some leadership from him too. I'm anxious to see how he plays in the game. I hope he gets a chance to play, not from injury, but because we get a big lead.
Well, on that point, how long do you think we see KJ Jefferson, assuming the Knights are able to move the ball reasonably well? What do you think coaches want to see from him? A half of play?
Oh, I think it all depends on how he's playing and what the coaches see and what they want to work on. And it's his job. So I don't think I think they want to see him play in this offense and get comfortable with it. A lot depends on the score too. I think,
and he hasn't been live during scrimmages, right? So he needs a little bit of time to play too.
Yeah, he does. And I think that's what they'll give him. I'd like to see Ja'Curry play a little too. So we'll see what happens. I hope that we have the game far enough in hand that Ja'Curry gets at least a couple of series.
Well, Coach, unfortunately, you mentioned 2 words, or 3 words, I guess, defensive line and injury, which brings up John Walker, right? So,
yeah.
So 1, how big a loss is that for UCF? But 2, who are the guys that you expect to kind of step in and step up to be able to maybe fill that void while Walker's out?
Well, it's a big loss, that's for sure. He's a very steady player, really, really a good player. Between he and Ricky and Lee, those are 3 pretty good tackles that are proven. I think what you're going to get, I think that's why you're seeing Tyreek Richardson getting a shot. He's showed some good stuff too, but he might not have gotten that call if John had been healthy. But Matthew Alexander is a solid player. I think he's going to help us too, and Dalen Dotson too. Dalen's a little small, but I like what I've seen from those guys, and you have to be able to play at least 4 defensive tackles, if not 5 in a game. You just have to – you can't let those guys get tired, and that offense is going to run a bunch of plays. So you've got to be able to substitute guys in there. But I think you'll see all 5 of those guys doing well. And I really think Ricky Barber is going to step up and play like he's capable of playing. He's a very good player. And Lee already has, I think, too.
We saw two new names on the two deep coach that a lot of folks aren't familiar with: Sheldon Arnold, Mac McWilliams. Again, to Trace's point, you've seen these guys at practice. What have you seen out of Sheldon and Mac? What has impressed you about those two guys?
Well, I really think they're both solid players, really good players, and they're going to play a lot. The experience counts, and they've got some experience. So like everybody else, they're new to me too in a way, but I've seen a lot of them, and they really performed well in practice. So let's see if they do it in the games.
Longtime UCF fans will recognize the last name Whittemore. Coach, you've been around long enough that we're finally starting to see some legacy guys, the players coming along. What has Trent Whittemore done to elevate his game? He only had a couple of catches last year, transferred in from Florida. I think a lot of fans, they saw him at the podium throughout camp. He was featured at media day. So that was a little bit of a tell from coaches that he might have a role in the offense. But what did you see from him that his game changed since last year?
Well, I think he's improved as far as catching the ball. Plus, he's more familiar with the offense now. I think that's showing. And he's a big target. He's tall, and he runs well. I think his dad was faster. I think Mark was when he played for us. But Trent is.
That question I should have asked Trent at media days.
Yeah, that's a good question to ask him. I think if you ask Mark, you might get the real answer. But in any case, I think Trent's just been steadily improving, and I'm looking forward to seeing him because he has really good hands, and he's a big target, and he can block on the perimeter very well too, and that's a big part of the screen game. So and the outside run game. So I'm looking forward to seeing him do all of those things.
You know a thing or two about a good O-line. Sell me on this O-line.
Experience. The best offensive line coach in the country is working them. They are, all of them, very dedicated to playing. They're intelligent guys, and they're good-looking guys too. But they got a great coach, and they're a great group of experienced players that are really playing well together. They're communicating well together, and they like each other a lot. I think it's a great recipe for success.
Yeah, I just want to hit on that. Herb Hand, people will say they're concerned about the offensive line, and I say in Coach Hand, I trust, right?
Yes.
I mean, he's got a proven track record of success, not only in the college game, but putting guys into the NFL. And I mean, he had a challenge on his hands last year, 4 different guys playing center because of injury.
That's right. He's like I said, I think he's the best line coach in the country. I think that's why Gus hired him, and I think he's proven it. And I think he'll continue to prove it. I have all the faith in the world in him and the guys that are playing. And I think with the guys that we got in the offseason through the portal, I think we got some depth that will help us quite a bit. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how those guys play too.
Coach, you mentioned obviously a lot of positions are still kind of being, evaluated. The depth chart today may not be the depth chart tomorrow. Is there a position group specifically that you think is still really being evaluated where coaches are keeping kind of a close eye to figure out if they've got the right mix right now?
Offensively, I think you're looking at the receivers. I think we have enough really good receivers that some of them may challenge other guys for the starting spots, and they're going to play a lot of guys anyway, so it'll be hard to tell really sometimes who the starters are and who the backups are. I think same thing in the secondary. And now getting the depth in the defensive line is going to be a critical thing too. So I think all of those positions are up for grabs. I think Boomer's going to kick off, but Grant could kick off too. I mean, we're in very good shape at the kicking position with Grant being the backup.
Coach Belzal made a change this offseason and brought in a new strength conditioning coordinator, kind of a new staff, new philosophy. How have you seen that change manifest itself on the field as you've seen sort of the fall camp?
Well, I've seen it in the weight room and on the field. Coach Kissick is doing a great job with those guys, and he's with them so much. I think he's helped the discipline with that team a lot. Plus they're stronger. They do a fantastic workout. He does a fantastic job. So I think the confidence has also helped when those guys go in there and do the workouts he has them do, and in the running that he has them do, they're in good shape too. So, but the confidence grows when you know you can do all of those things that he's put you through. I think it's a confidence thing as well as strength, and I'm just happy as can be that he's here. He's done a nice job with those guys.
All right, less than 24 hours before kickoff. Hope springs eternal. But if you're being honest, what are you a little concerned about? That you're just not sure that they have the right guys in the right place?
I'm not really unsure. I trust the coaches. They've got the right guys in the right place. My only concern is the ball going to bounce badly for us, or are we going to have some injuries? Those are the two things to me. You know, when we went undefeated in 2017 and then undefeated regular season 2018, we won a lot of close games, and the ball bounced our way a few times when it could have easily bounced the other way. So I think to have the kind of year we want to have, some of that's got to go our way more than against us, and we have to not have the injuries. Those two things.
I think, as you say, ball bounced the right way. I think of 2013 too. J.J. Wharton, for example, with the catch in the end zone. I mean, there were a lot of little moments across that season that if it doesn't go the right way, you're 8-3, 8-4 kind of year.
And you can go to a lot of successful seasons and see those things, but when you win 10 or more games, usually there's some things going your way in the luck department. Or I say luck, it's preparation, but you know, sometimes even all the preparation doesn't do it. There's a little luck involved too.
First scrimmage, 18 penalties for the Knights. Coach Malzahn not happy. Of course, it was a first scrimmage, cut down over the course of camp. Can you have a defense as aggressive as Ted Roof wants to play and then not have some penalties? You
can, but it's been my experience that defensively, you certainly don't want to give up aggressiveness to hold them back from penalties. Now, stupid penalties are one thing, but aggressive penalties are something else. So some of those penalties aren't as bad as others. You know, pre-snap penalties, there's no excuse for that. Some penalties are, again, sometimes it's the judgment of the official. It could have gone either way. So I think I'm not concerned about that. I think they've got things under control in the penalty department too. And if there are some penalties, as long as they're not, you know, bad mental penalties, I think we're okay. We want to be aggressive on defense and offense. And, you know, a hold here and there once in a while, it's not good, but some of those things are called whether they're there or not. Pass interference, for example, too. So I think the team has come together. They know that penalties hurt them, and they know that not to have them. But you don't want to stop the aggressiveness either.
Coach, let's take a question from the audience here. This person wants to know the assessment of the defensive unit. What have you seen overall from the defense as you've had a chance to watch them throughout fall camp?
We're certainly a lot better and faster on defense, especially at linebacker and safety. The portal guys that came in are having a huge impact. I mean, we got a linebacker from Vanderbilt and a linebacker from Cincinnati that were leading tacklers on their teams and captains of their teams, I think, both of them. But in any case, that's huge. And the safeties too. I think we're the most athletic we have been on defense since 2017, at least, and maybe even then. And we were very athletic on defense back in 2017, very athletic, and 2018 too. But this is a more athletic team, I think, than at least since 2017. So I'm excited. They can run.
My favorite question to ask you is, I think I did this all last year. I put you in front of the whiteboard. You got the team in front of you. You're going to write down the 3 goals for this game. What do you want the team to do this game as the coach? What are your 3 goals coming into game 1 here against New Hampshire?
3 goals against New Hampshire. Win, obviously.
I'll take that. I like that.
I think he's writing that one on permanent marker on that whiteboard.
Yeah. I think in this game, you want to dominate the line of scrimmage if you can. I think you want to dominate the line of scrimmage, and you want to cut down on you want to cut out, if you can, missed assignments and mental errors, mental penalties, things like that. I think those 3 things are probably if you can do the last 2, you're probably going to get the win.
Coach, we talk a lot about players. What about coaches? What are the nerves like? 23 hours away from kickoff. As a coach, what are the nerves like as you embark on sort of a new season?
I don't know that it has anything to do with the newness of the season. Every game for me was pins and needles, and even playing somebody we're supposed to beat. In fact, sometimes those were the most stressful because you were supposed to beat them bad, So I think it's you just like the players. You get wound up and you're into it. You've spent all your time doing all these things. And believe me, they spent a lot of time, the coaches have, preparing for this game. And you want to make sure you have everything covered, and you think you have, and usually you do have, but it's still, you don't know how the game's going to go. And there's that unknown part, especially when you got guys that are, if you have young guys, especially, sometimes you don't know how they're going to react. So, it's an interesting thing for the coaches too, and they're keyed up too. I promise you, they are keyed up and nervous. I guess they may hide it well. They may be confident, but inside, their guts are churning.
All right, where are you watching this one from?
Sideline.
Sideline.
What a flex that is. Sideline.
Hey.
I love it. I love
as
it.
long as I can still get out of the way when I have to, that's the place I want to watch it.
That is important. All right. I will see you down on the field, Coach. Enjoy this one, and we look forward to talking to you soon about the outcome.
Thank you all for what you do, too, both of you. I appreciate what Sons of UCF does.
You're the best, Coach. Thanks.
Brownsberry. Enjoy the game, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Adam. You feeling good? Got that right amount of hopium in there?
I do. Listen, I
sees
love
more of it than just about anybody, right?
Well, that's fair.
The team, itself.
I love his optimism in the defense, right? Talking about it's interesting fact. Like, we brought in 2 linebackers that led their team in tackles, right? There's a lot of veteran leaders on that defense, right? I asked about Sheldon and Mac McWilliams, names we don't know a lot about, but those guys had a lot of starts at their last stops, have played a lot of football snaps. So, I love the way that he's thinking about the defense, the way the transfers are kind of coming into play. And yeah, I'm even more excited, about this kickoff. We'll have our next guest is already rating Trace, so we'll learn more about New Hampshire. But from a UCF standpoint, you got to love what Coach is saying, the optimism he has there. And, again, coaches are going to be eternally optimistic, and I appreciate that. But, I think Coach Lounsbury, I think he's forgotten more football than you and I will ever know. And I think that if he's excited, there's no reason for us not to be excited.
Yeah, that's the right feeling going into a new season. I want to thank my friend John again for giving us a couple of tickets to give away, and the winner at James Duncan UCF for claiming those tickets, left a good review for us. I appreciate James. And again,
thank you, James.
John. Yes, thank you. And if you ever were looking to give away tickets, hey, we give away all sorts of things on the Sons of UCF. We're always happy.
Check UCF Mike's Twitter. I think he's still trying to give away as many tickets as possible this week.
That's true. All right. There is an opponent, right? You can't overlook anyone. Need we go back to 2015? What was it, Furman? I'm not saying UCF took them lightly, but they're all. It's too soon. It's too soon. Nearly a decade later. Let's bring in a guy who covers New Hampshire. He is Roger Brown, writes for the New Hampshire Union Leader, publisher of the New Hampshire Football Report. Roger, we thank you for being on Sons of UCF Live.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Looking forward to the season and the game.
Well, let's just talk a little bit high-level overview. What kind of quality program is New Hampshire?
Oh, at its level, it's very high quality. I think people You just look at, the coaches that have come through there. The Ohio State staff has got Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, who are both New Hampshire guys. And at the FCS level, it's been one of the, I wouldn't, they weren't championship driven every year, but they were in the mix a lot of years. And there was actually a stretch early to mid 90s where they won 5 straight games against FBS opponents. So they were kind of like the FCS team to avoid back then. It's been a while since they've won one of those games, and I wouldn't say this team is as, who knows, a lot to be determined. But on paper, anyways, I wouldn't say it's as strong as those mid '90 teams when Rick Santos, the head coach, was the quarterback. But they would go into these games back then. It was Northwestern and Rutgers and Marshall, and I don't think they were opponents that were probably as strong as the one they're going to face Thursday, but they would go in and win those games. So, quality program is the short answer to your question.
You mentioned quarterback, a change in quarterback. How does it change the offense?
Well, again, a lot to be determined there. They brought in Seth Morgan. They were hoping to have Max Brosmer for his last year, but as you guys probably know, he's at Minnesota now. Seth is a veteran guy, has played, I think this is his 5th year. Not the strongest arm, but, he came in with a reputation of being very accurate. And I would say from the limited time I've seen him in the spring game and some in practice, that's probably the book on him. Not a cannon for an arm, but he'll hit the guys in small windows and very accurate passer.
Roger, you mentioned New Hampshire, a bit of a cradle of coaches, right? Chip Kelly, Ryan Day. You mentioned Rick Santos. Tell us a little bit more about him as a coach and the kind of offensive system he runs.
Well, it's kind of funny because they were a very innovative team, known for trick plays, wide open offense. It's kind of a unique thing, but both Chip Kelly and Ryan Day and Danny Mullen, who you guys are probably familiar with down at Florida, all from the same hometown in New Hampshire, Manchester, New Hampshire. So kind of strange, but cradle of coaches is probably accurate there. But back in those days, 10, 15 years ago, wide open offense. Again, they were doing things that other teams, copied. But when Coach Santos took over, they went back to a little bit more under center. And I don't know if conservative offense is the right word, but, their personnel led, like last year, they had the Lobby kid who's with the Raiders now, and they were a lot of play action pass team, instead of always in the shotgun like they used to be. So, and it's a game by game thing with him. It really is. Sometimes you see them run the ball a lot more in some games than other games, but predicated on the opponent and what they think will be successful. But, certainly not the crazy wide open offenses of 10, 15 years ago.
Well, we mentioned quarterback Seth Morgan. Who are some other names on this offense that you think could see, some meaningful minutes, meaningful snaps, make some big plays for New Hampshire on Thursday?
Yeah, I would, their strength on offense is definitely their depth at wide receiver. They have a kid, Logan Tomlinson, one of their captains, be a wideout. He'll probably be their leading receiver if I had to guess this year. But they do have a kid, Joey Corcoran from Montreal. He took a step back last year for a number of reasons, but I would say if they have like a big play threat this year at the receiver position, it would be him. And he had good numbers 2 years ago, good statistics, and he really could have a monster year. So the 2 wideouts, for sure. They have a young tight end, Colby Ramshaw, who they like. Tight end has always been a big part of the UNH offense. And, you mentioned Coach Santos's offense. It's remained a big part of the offense since he's taken over. They usually have bigger athletic tight ends that can get down the field and catch the ball. They're not just the, 10 yards cut in and hit me. So Colby Ramshaw is probably a kid to look for. And then, they have a couple of running backs. That's another position of question. Miles Tomlinson is probably he's the smaller of the two. It's him and Isaac Seed, and they may be series to series. We'll have to see how that plays out. But Miles is a smaller, quicker, shiftier guy that they'll probably use in the kick return game. So he's a guy that could home run threat for him as well.
Let's talk defense. What do you expect to be the strength of this New Hampshire defense?
Oh, I think without question, it's their defensive ends. They have both, all conference DNs, Josiah Silver and Dylan Ruiz, who's an Orlando kid. They've been productive for the last 3 years. They're not real big guys. I know they're going to be overmatched size-wise by the offensive line they'll be up against Thursday, but they've been very productive in rushing the passer. So that will definitely be the strength. Last year, they had real problems defending the pass. They brought in a transfer from Yale, Wande Owens, who they hope will solidify things in the back end. He's a strong safety, was a captain at Yale. They'll need him to have a big season. And they're going to have to play much better on defense. No question about it. They thought they had last year, expectations were very high, and the offense delivered, but the defense was very disappointing. Both against the run and particularly against the pass. So interesting to see how they're going to perform Thursday.
You mentioned a returner, but overall special teams, how do you evaluate that unit going into the season?
Well, that's interesting too. They lost 2 special teams coaches in the offseason. They weren't just replacing one.
A revolving door special team coach?
I don't think the salaries at New Hampshire are the same as some other places. But they were excellent on special teams last year. They led the nation in block kicks, both punts, extra points, field goals, and it was by a wide margin. I don't have the number, but there was, nobody was a close second to them. So special teams was a strength. Nick Mazzy, their kicker, is pretty reliable. I would say special teams was a strength last year, should be a strength this year, but they don't have Lobby returning kicks, and he was difficult to tackle, and gave him a lot of extra yardage in the kicking game. So. That's an area that, again, they'll be looking for somebody to step up there and fill that role.
Roger, an impossible question. We haven't yet seen a minute of football played, but what do you expect out of New Hampshire this season? What kind of season do you project for the team?
Again, I don't want to be non-committal, but they just have so many questions. They were picked 7th in their league, which is a 16-team league. And, I couldn't really disagree with that. But historically, they've been a team like last year. They were picked to finish high, and they weren't, they didn't have a great season. They were 6-5. So, if things come together, and it would be a lot of things that would have to come together, they could surprise people and, maybe get a top 4 finish in their conference. They are a pretty veteran team. They've guys that played a lot of football. I don't think they're going to. They may be overmatched in a lot of areas, or they will be, I'm sure, Thursday, but I don't think they're going to go in there wide-eyed or anything like that. So, we'll just have to see. A lot of it will depend on injuries. And if you tell me the defense is going to be much improved, I would say they would have a chance at an FCS playoff spot. But unless they make significant improvement on that side of the ball, it's probably going to be closer to that 6th or 7th place in the conference finish that was predicted.
Obviously, UCF, New Hampshire don't have a ton of history with each other. I'm just curious from a opponent's perspective, what's the perception of UCF? What's the perception of fans, players, and coaches about coming to Orlando and playing this Knights team?
I'm sure the fans are looking forward to going to Florida. I mean, they probably preferred if this game was at the end of the year when it was snowing up here, but excited about it. Let's face it, this is probably one of the more talented teams, if not the most talented team the program has ever faced. They played a Pittsburgh team, I think it was in 2021, that was very good, and they They didn't fare very well that day. I just think people are looking forward to football. I think the fans and the team has a realistic view of this game, and what would be considered a successful day or night for them, and that would be probably coming out healthy, number one, and just being competitive. Maybe into the second half, or seeing good things that they can pull from this game. That would allow them to feel good about themselves moving forward against Holy Cross the following week or what have you. So I think everybody's looking forward to it. Again, trip to Florida is great. It's always good to play a big name opponent at a higher level. So I think it's like anywhere else in the country. Football is starting and everybody's excited about it.
All right, put you on the spot. What is it, 42.5, somewhere around there? Do they cover that?
Boy, I wish I knew how well the offense is going to play.
It's your mortgage. You're putting your mortgage on this one.
I know.
I'm confident.
Oh, wow.
42.5. I don't know. Does Gus usually put the hammer down, or is he pretty nice in the fourth quarter? I guess I'd have to take the 42.5. The ball could bounce funny. They could come up with a couple of big plays, but it's a number that makes you think for sure.
All right. No mortgage. We'll just have fun with it. Roger Brown writes for the New Hampshire Union Leader, publisher of the New Hampshire Football Report. We appreciate you spending some time with us on Sons of UCF Live, Roger.
Okay, guys. Thanks for having me. Enjoy the game, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
Roger.
you. All right. They got some talent. You can't take a team lightly, but pick 7th in their league, right? Does encourage you that UCF should have a comfortable evening.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you never know what's going to happen. So you put the ball in the grass, as Gus would say, and Roger obviously talks a little bit about some things the team's working on. I think the most eye-opening thing that he said there, Trace, was the most talented team this program's ever faced.
Yeah, I heard that.
Like, that's quite how the tables have turned for us here at little old UCF, and we're the juggernaut that a team is looking forward to.
Yeah, well, that we talk about the trajectory of the program. UCF used to be the New Hampshire going to face the Nebraskas of the world, and it has changed. With the UCF kicking off our other Big 12 schools, that means we get Jeff Allen back for our Big 12 Minute.
We've missed Jeff. He is back, and dare I say, better than ever.
Ah, yes, the smell of football is in the air, and it's great to be back with you for year number 2 of the Big 12 Minute as another season is yet upon us. After all the conversation about realignment over the last couple of years, now we see more of those transitions take place on the field. Adios to Texas and Oklahoma. Incoming are 4 more new teams: Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah, all of which are on UCF's schedule this season. All 16 league teams are in action week 1 out of conference. 15 of them are hosting. The schedule shapes up like this. Tomorrow night, Kansas hosts Lindenwood, 8 o'clock on ESPN+. Colorado entertains North Dakota State, 8 o'clock on ESPN. Utah welcomes Southern Utah, 9 o'clock on ESPN+. Friday night, TCU's the lone team on the road as they travel to Stanford, 10:30 on ESPN. On Saturday, West Virginia has the big noon game against Penn State in Morgantown on Fox. Oklahoma State hosts South Dakota State, 2 o'clock on ESPN+. Cincinnati welcomes Towson, 2:30 on ESPN+. Iowa State entertains North Dakota, 3:30 on FS1. Baylor opens at home against Tarleton, 7 o'clock on ESPN+. Kansas State takes on UT Martin, 7 o'clock on ESPN+. Houston battles UNLV, 7 o'clock on FS1. Texas Tech squares off with Abilene Christian, 7:30 on ESPN+. BYU tangles with Southern Illinois, 8 o'clock on ESPN+. Arizona's Big 12 debut is against New Mexico, 10:30 on ESPN. And Arizona State faces Wyoming, 10:30 on FS1. And of course, the weekend schedule kicks off with our Knights against New Hampshire at the Bounce House tomorrow night at 7 on ESPN+, with UCF as a 41-point favorite. I dislike lines that get this high. Honestly, I'd be quite happy not covering and having no injuries to report. With your Big 12 Minutes, I'm Jeff Allen.
You remember the 2-minute drill with Chris Berman on Sunday nights, the NFL recap? It was 2 minutes. It never was 2 minutes. I think this Big 12 Minute with 16 teams in the league. How long? How long did that clock in?
1:59, by the way.
Okay, so it is.
So you can send your apology to Jeff Allen 88 on Twitter.
Oh, so you're counting 1 to 159 as 1 minute.
You said
By
you
the
thought
way,
it was over 2. It was not.
Yeah, well, I thought it was over 2. Well, you know what? I may guess that week in and week out. You can tell that it's the first week. There's something called Tarleton.
I heard a
It's on the
Tarleton in there
schedule.
as well. Yeah,
There's a
that jarred
Tarleton.
me. That jarred me
All
for a
right.
second.
Mike continues to razz me. I have yet to sign up. Less than 24 hours to kick off with the Pick'em. Are you in on Pick'em? Are you?
I'm in the pool.
Approaching 100 people or thereabouts signed up for the Pick'em.
I'm in the pool. I feel. Should we be talking about Mike? Every time we talk about Mike, he seems to clip it and put it on social
That's good
media.
though. It's good publicity. He likes to
So
hear his name. Yeah,
he does. I hear his name. I'm in again. You and I have the same philosophy. I open that thing up. I usually get an email reminder on Thursdays that tells me I have to pick the games. I go to the pool tracker, my dial-up internet, because that's the only thing that accepts the pool tracker, right?
And there's a hamster running behind the scenes on pool tracker.
Exactly. And I pick my games, and I don't even. I keep it moving. I don't overthink it. I don't make any changes. I go boom, 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 boom. Hit select, and that's that. And then the next week, I hear it from Mike and everybody else about what place I'm in. So I'm in for fun. I try to do well, but I don't overthink the pool tracker. But again, great prizes available. So I forgot. I have a polo shirt that our own Brian W. Peterson sent to us. It is an Orlando branded UCF Knight polo shirt. We'll probably make some more UCF gear at some point. I've got some hats there behind me. Maybe we'll make more of those. Only 2 though.
The official inventory.
Do you like that? only 2 though. And you know what's really popular, Trace, that we haven't made in a while? A lot of people like those quasi Yeti glasses and cups. So
yeah,
maybe we'll get another.
I love mine.
There we go. Maybe we'll get another run of those at some point. So sign up now. Again, go to UCF Mike's Twitter. I think it's pinned on the top because why
am
would
I eligible though?
Mike?
So I'm going to play this to be mocked by Mike throughout the year, and I'm not even eligible to win a prize.
No, see, I told you he was. He's like a genie. I told you he was available. He's listening in right now. Don't say his name. This is like Harvin Marison. You don't say his name out loud, and so we're not gonna do that here.
Yeah, I may pull a Jerry Seinfeld. I may choose not to pick. I don't know.
Okay. Well, face the wrath. That's up to you. That's your call.
I don't know. The wrath. I'm going to get wrath whether I play or not.
Have you seen Twitter earlier tonight? Mike already has a video up. I don't know that you're going to love. So maybe the wrath is
of what?
I can't disclose that.
Am I involved?
It's just you. Actually, it's nothing but you.
I have not seen that. I will give you guys kudos. Another great interview this week. I'll tell you what, Jeremy Taché, a successful UCF alum. I don't know a whole lot about him. I really enjoyed listening to him, though, and his career has really taken off. And it sounds like a great family guy as well.
Yeah, he's a good kid. He's obviously he came up through the Nicholson program at UCF. Worked his way in actual South Florida and is now on, one of the biggest sports podcasts, the Dan Lebertard Show is Two Gots, has his own podcast series, works for the Marlins, works for the Heat, did some work for the Panthers as well. So doing a really nice job, but people may not know this about him. He's a UCF homer. So we've been connecting for a while. And, here's the thing on the shows he's on, he doesn't get to talk a lot of UCF because he's in actual South Florida and they want to talk Hurricanes and Heat and Dolphins. So he was extremely happy to come on and talk some UCF Knights. And so we asked him a little bit about what does he expect this season? What does he think of this offense? And here's a clip from episode 268 of the Suns pod.
KJ Jefferson, RJ Harvey, Penny Boone, and Johnny Richardson is a crazy rushing game. And you can't forget the fact that Kobe Hudson and Xavier Townsend are 2 super talented dudes with the ball in their hands. I think Townsend can be used in some really interesting ways this year. He's such a versatile player. I actually covered him a little bit. I was doing a Florida high school football show down here for Valley Sports, and it felt like every single weekend Townsend was like star of the week. And I was like, man, I wonder where that guy's going to end up in college. Turns out it's UCF, and that works out great because he's so versatile. So yeah, I deeply believe in the offense and what they can do.
You heard it from him. You clipped it for YouTube. It's in the podcast feed, wherever you get your downloadable audio content. 268 of these things and still going strong.
Well, I mean, that's also like 5,000, hours because some of these things get a little long in the tooth there.
If you had a 3-hour show, there's been a 3-hour show. Isn't there?
Well, so to be fair, I think there's one episode we did 2 interviews. Both our interviews are usually about 50 to 60 minutes long. I think we did 2 interviews in the normal show. So I think there may be one out there. I recall a Sean Mag, Eric Burrs combination, which those two people
Nobody would
never
pin
be
that
in
as the multi-hour
at
show.
the exact same time. I believe there's a Sean Mag, Eric Burrs, but that may have been before we got canceled and erased, and so I don't know if that's out there yet. But I want to say there was a thing. I want to say there's at least maybe one close to 3-hour show available for you.
Catch that interview with Jeremy Taché. Great guest on the Sons of UCF. All right, time for some news and notes.
Mac McWilliams, number 20. Let's go around the kingdom.
That was a second for Mac on that one. He didn't like his first take. Can I do it again? Do it again? Yeah, you can do it again.
He's always got a smile on his face. I watched this whole interview with you. He's always got a bit of a smirk. I don't know if it's a smile or a smirk, but I kind of like a man who's got maybe he's got a secret. Maybe he's laughing at something we don't know about. I hope that he's laughing at an interception and a pick six on Thursday.
Yeah, I hope he's smiling because he's had success against New Hampshire. All right, volleyball opening night. Knights coming off a 17-12 season, 8-10 in the Big 12. They ended the season 8-game losing streak. They are on the road to begin the season for a couple of weeks, it seems, at Virginia Tech Saturday, 5 o'clock, Sunday at Charlotte. So good luck to volleyball as it opens its season. Number 21 now, men's soccer, coming off a 1-1 draw with then number 23, Seattle. They have a tough one hosting perennial power Wake Forest on Saturday night at the UCF Soccer Complex at 7 o'clock. Our own Eric Lopez on the call for that one. We get to claim him. We get to claim him as our own, right? I get to throw that out because he's
just did. Who's going to stop us?
Around the kingdom. So women's soccer also home this weekend on Sunday. Number 16 Georgia coming to the UCF Soccer Complex. Soccer drew 2-2. Women did at Florida. Chloe Netzel with 2 goals in that one. Mentioned Eric Lopez. We had our show this week where we picked the games. Elo, a little heel turn. He feels the loss of John Walker really hurts the Knights. So he downgraded him a little bit. He was talking 9-3 or better. Kind of settled in with me around that 8-4 mark. Let's hear from around the kingdom now.
I think the special season, you're talking about the line. Are they physical up front, especially on the defensive side? Certainly we already know about the offensive side, but definitely the defensive side. Are they going to get pushed around again, Trace, like they have last season, or are they going to stand up? That's, to me, the big if they can have a defense that could stand up to people and not get pushed around, I think they have a chance to get a special season.
Special season, or it could be a long season, and how the ball bounces and if they are healthy. Catch the latest around the kingdom on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. It is that time again.
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
I'm too sexy for my shirt.
Yo!
Because I don't really like any of these guys. None of them are my guys.
Maybe a pony.
Giddy up.
Oh, hell yeah. Did you add to it? No, you didn't add anything to it this week.
I did not. Actually, can we sidebar for a second here, just between you and I? No one's listening real quick.
Yeah.
Can I add Gus to that, or is that against the rules? Because he had a clip the other day, Trace, where he's talking about guys' groins and hamstrings, and that would fit really well in there. I just don't know if I'm allowed to use Gus in that capacity, so I haven't added that in yet. I don't want to run afoul of any of the fine folks.
You wouldn't want to run afoul of Gus.
Hey. I don't want him to think I'm upset at him. So I have held off on that. So I need a ruling.
But if he were upset and it was against the rules, could I ask if that upset him?
I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, maybe we can get him on a JP Gilbert Twitter space. That may break the
he kind of was on a JP Gilbert Twitter. I'm sorry, Christy Malzahn was, but
that may break the internet right there. Yes.
Yeah. How about that sideshow spectacle? Oh my goodness, rubbernecking on the highway. Oh my goodness, Ethan Bargain.
I see what you did there. Wow, I love that nickname. Look at you, Trace. I like that. Good. Look, I've been a JP Gilbert fan from the start. I know some people find him distasteful in some of his takes, but again, I tell you time and time again, no bigger Knight fan than JP Gilbert. And so we all deal with this craziness in our own special way. JP has his own special way. You have your special way. I have mine. Everybody has theirs, but no bigger Knight fan than JP Gilbert.
2 letters, 2 words. Robert, we're all assuming a W, but what's your final score threshold for you to consider UCF to have been successful against New Hampshire? It's less about score. I thought it was interesting, a point you brought up during the podcast where you said you want an easy blowout win, or do you want them to face some adversity? Malzahn has been talking about they need to face some adversity. So I kind of want to see some difficult moments and pull away. I think this one's like a 51-13 kind of game.
My official prediction on the board right there, Trace, 52-13.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Knights, UCF Knights. Yeah.
No, I just called
the Woody Page element of the sunset is now here. 52-13 is my prediction.
Brian W. Peterson, is John Walker the next Dylan Gabriel? Gets hurt and then transfers out to a better NIL deal. What is this Eeyore effect that Brian has, where the cloud sort of follows him around? Why the negativity going into week 1? I refuse to. I'm not answering.
There's no chance Brian is going to like you calling him Eeyore, A. But B, look, to your point, like, don't put this in the universe, but you can't rule it out. And that's what sucks about college football is no one can look at this and go, yep, no chance that's happening. And that's what sucks about college football these days and college athletics in general. But yes, let's not put it in the ether right now. But it sucks that I can't look in this camera and tell you there's no chance that's happening, because there's always a chance it's happening.
It'll only be UCF. UCF hasn't had a kick return for a touchdown since 2016. Should Gus be fired for having an NFL returner on his team and not using him? I wonder who he means. John Rice Plumlee. Cut, however, by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I didn't see. Did they pick him up on the practice squad? I didn't catch that.
I did not see that, but I learned something actually new on JP Gilbert's space last night that I was not aware of. I did not know that SJ Tui's brother-in-law was Arthur Smith, who is the offensive coordinator at Pittsburgh. I did not know that was a connection there. So maybe there's an opportunity there. Maybe there's some things going on. They used him in kick return, punt return. Obviously played some quarterback.
He returned to kick and stayed in at quarterback.
Why would you not? Of course, yeah. Trace. Why would you not? I hope he does. I mean, some nights I saw Trevor Morris-Brash made the practice squad for the Chargers. Fortunately, my Dallas Cowboys cut both Alec Holler and Jason Johnson. Tate Gowan got cut. So I always hate this time of year because you see some of our fellow Knights out there. Matt Wright got cut, but he'll be back in the team probably in 2 weeks. So let's not worry about that. But it always sucks to see some of the Knights have their first opportunity at an NFL dream dashed.
At Dare Zim, how do you feel about UCF legacy Trent Whittemore in the starting lineup? I love seeing that Whittemore name in the starting lineup. I hope he has the kind of year that everybody around the team is expecting.
I love it if he catches some footballs for touchdowns, and I'd love it even.
You don't
more.
care what his last name is, as long as he
catches the ball. Yeah, as long as he catches the football and doesn't fumble it, and we get some first downs. But again, I think it was Kobe Hudson, and one of the pressers, Trace, you would know better than I, was kind of raving about the improvement of Trent and sort of how we stepped up his game this offseason. So let's hope that bodes well. I mean, he's obviously a veteran receiver. He's been around a little bit. I don't know if he's a speedster per se, if he's a possession receiver. We'll find that out tomorrow night, perhaps. But if he can catch footballs, I don't care what you call him. Let's get him on the field.
I think this next question is directed at me, at Not Mayor UCF. Between Ted Roof's congratulations and Gus' concern for your feelings, which coach is in your sights next? See, it's not how I look at this. It's just asking questions. That's all. I mean, you're a non-objective observer, but did you? I mean, I asked him about player injury reports. I mean, he can answer it however he wants. What do my feelings have to do with it?
No, it's fair. Like, look, when I saw Joey McGuire, and so for those who aren't familiar, Texas Tech is going to put out an injury report each week, which is something college programs do not do for various reasons. So I thought it was a very curious question for you to say, hey, Gus, would you ever do something similar? I thought it was a fair question. I thought it was a curious question. He even reacted a little bit to say, like, I'm not sure what that's about. Like, how does it even work? So I thought he gave a really good answer.
His answer was fine till the end.
I think he likes to have a little fun with you. I think he likes to have a little bit of
fun. It was a blast.
Well, it was fun for the rest of us, maybe. I don't know. But it was a fair question. I know some people are going to look. You could ask him his favorite ice cream flavor, and someone's going to drag you for that. You could ask him the starting quarterback, and they'll drag you for that. So I don't think you can ever win in the court of public opinion. But that was a fair question. I thought Gus's answer up until offering you a Kleenex was pretty good.
Similar line of question from Matt McGuckin at M6, asking about what did I do to upset Gus? I just ask questions. I just ask things that I'm curious about. Sometimes they're said better, sometimes less so, and I'm sure it won't be the last time that someone doesn't like something I say or ask.
In the power rankings of people that I'd like you to piss off, I mean, at least like Lee Hunter, I fear for your safety. So
No,
please
we're
be
good.
nice
No,
to
Lee and I are.
I know.
No, Lee and
I'm
I are
saying,
good.
please be nice to him. Be nice to Paul Rubelt. I fear for your safety.
Oh no,
I'd rather you go after, I don't know, like somebody a little smaller, maybe. David Gibbs is gone, right? He was the short. Like I don't know who the small guy in the staff is at this point. Go after one of the smaller guys.
I'm not going after anybody. I'm asking questions. People can answer them however they want. At GoldenEye_2, if you were playing UCF trivia, which, hey, UCF Mike, maybe he'll appear again. He's very good at it on the most recent episode of Up All Night. Which categories would you be most and least confident in? I'm not particularly good at UCF trivia, I don't think. I mean,
I'd be foggy anything like early, from the 90s to the inception of the program, like that 11-year block. I don't have a ton of recollection on, so I think that would be somewhere I'd struggle with. Outside of that, I feel pretty confident on most anything else. I mean, you have a famous phrase all the time. At some point, it's all dandelion spore. So
yeah, that's mine.
I was actually talking in a group chat today. My son's birthday is tomorrow, and I was recalling that.
Happy birthday, Aiden.
He was born on a Wednesday night, and that Thursday, UCF was playing Akron, and I remember that because I left the hospital. We hadn't slept for nights. He was in his little, whatever they put him in, the incubator situation. My wife was asleep. I came home to watch UCF smash Akron. I remember that one, but if you ask me who we opened up the season with, and 2007,
which is exactly what you did on this week's Around the Kingdom. You quizzed Elo and I about memorable opening games, and I'm like,
you had options.
So yeah, I don't know how good I'd be at trivia. Be interested to hear Golden Knight. Which categories do you think you would be best at? All right, that is the mailbag, which leaves us just one more segment in this hour or so. It's that time to find out what, Adam, is in the box.
It's always time for what's in the box, Trace. And you know who it's brought to you by?
It better be a better question than last week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, you take it up with the committee. Promo code TEN1215. They have some new gear out there. I think they have a new Citronauts jacket out there. They have a bunch of new shirts out there. You got to get your gear right before the game. You can also check out Charlie Hustle if you go to Alumni Hall, by the way. They got a ton of Charlie Hustle stuff on there. Trace,
how many questions?
Rummage around here. We could rummage here. This one was filled out on me here. All right, here we go. This week's question.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I'm the only one
I remember this one. Okay, I remember this one. Okay, here we go. If you were dating, if you were dating a famous singer, and their most famous song was about an ex, would you listen to it?
Probably, I'd be supportive. Yes. Yeah,
be supportive. So
yeah.
It's it's a ballad where the person's crooning about a lost love, and
I'm going to ignore her talent and her career. No.
Well, I assume she has a much more robust catalog than just this one song. You can enjoy.
I'm sure she does have a robust catalog.
You can enjoy the other. Mario's in. Mario's in.
Yeah.
This question was inspired by my daughter, actually. Who? So I can tell you the backstory in this one. Taylor Swift has apparently a litany of songs that are written about her previous boyfriend. She's now obviously currently dating Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs. And so my daughter was like, how do you think Travis Kelce feels about, hearing some of the songs that he knows are written for other guys? And so I assume if you're Travis Kelce and you have multi-million dollars in the bank, and I imagine you struggle, finding company on a lonely night, maybe it's different than the normal human being, but I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about it.
Would you be singing the song though? Like, okay, so it's on.
I'm not very familiar with Taylor Swift, but are these trashing the exes, or is she speaking lovingly of her time with them? I don't know enough about her music to.
I probably a little bit of both. I think there's some low key shade in some of these songs about some.
He's an NFL player. He is secure individual.
I'm not saying he's not
by any of Taylor Swift's past.
Well, but he's not you and I. So that's the question: is the normal humans amongst us? How would we feel about that?
I think I'd be more concerned with being the subject of a future song.
What would that be like?
I'd be a little more concerned about that.
That's fair. Now that's a really
yeah.
Fair
I wouldn't want to be. That would be the concern for me. She's been writing about all these other people. I could be one of those people. I don't like.
What rhymes with walk and talk? I have to think that's correct.
All right. Well, we're going to put a wrap on this one. Follow me and Andrew Cherico, both credentialed in the press box for Thursday's game and all season long for UCF football. Andrew will have reports from the field. We'll have post-game reaction into the wee hours of the night. So we'll have it all covered for you for the Sons of UCF. So I want to thank Coach Lounsbury for his insights. Roger from New Hampshire with a look at the Wildcats. And thank you, Adam, for putting it all together. Everybody, it has arrived. New Hampshire at UCF Thursday in the Bounce House. Be safe if you're traveling to the game and enjoy it from wherever you're watching. For Adam Eaton, I'm Trey Strolko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
My name is Sheldon Arnold II. I play strong safety at UCF, and thank you for watching Sons of UCF.
Pulled out Sheldon and Mac.
There's
two
some
new faces.
strategery, not just a hat rack, Trace. That's a hat rack, not a hat rack. Hat rack.